saw me on the on your partner's site, wasn't it? Didn't he write the wasn't he executive producer with you on Unsolved? The guy who does the deep dives. I can't think of his name.
Yeah, Michael Dorsey. Yeah, he was also a producer on Unsolved. He was the one. He was the director and the producer of the documentary.
Right.
So I had met Mike when he made the documentary, but then the opportunity came for us to do this scripted series, and Mike also got involved in that as a producer.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay, so like I said, you kind of kind of went off on me on there. It was pleasant or anything, but yeah, you kind of explained why you say a man named Wardell Faust, aka Poochie, is the murderer of Biggie. Not has nothing to do with those composite sketches that Gene Deal gave.
Yeah, so I'm repeating what I was told, and I was told by another co-conspirator. So there
Mm-hmm.
was a female that was involved in Biggie's murder. She was a baby mama to Suge Knight, and when she confessed to her role in the murder, she told us that she had, on the directions of Suge Knight, she had hired a guy named Wardell Faust to do the killing. And Wardell Faust was a friend of Suge Knight's. Wardell Faust was a known shooter. He was a gang member associated with the crew that Suge hung out with. And so he fit the profile of a guy that would retaliate in a gang shooting. And then she tells us that she had paid him. Suge had provided her with the money to pay him, and that she showed up at the Peterson Auto Museum that night. Next thing you know, um, uh, Biggie gets shot, and she says that Wardell Faust was the trigger man.
Okay, let me just show your background. That wasn't your first murder, right? Obviously,
No, no,
the
no.
Biggie murder. I'm
No, not
sorry.
at all. I've been working homicide for years.
Exactly, exactly. I was just curious, like, how often do people let like a co-conspirator, as you say, co-conspirator, off the hook, on total immunity? I'm just curious.
Well, at that time when she confessed, she didn't have immunity.
Oh, oh, okay, wow. And she confessed anyway?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. And
She ended up getting immunity after the fact, after she confessed to her role in the murder. Um, the idea was to utilize her as as an informant, and in order to try to get other co-conspirators like Suge Knight to have a conversation with her. So we're using her, as part of our investigative process, investigative tools, and she was given immunity to do that. But she had already confessed to her role in the murder before ever receiving any immunity.
indeed, indeed. Oh, and you guys uh reenacted a lot of that in your TV series, right? Like the conversations in
Yes.
jail and whatnot. Yeah. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. And so she was the in between the money and Mr. Faust.
Yeah, because keep in mind, at this point in time, when Suge decides that he's going to retaliate against Bad Boy, he's in jail. So he's not on the streets. He can't really be out there, you know, calling the shots because he's behind bars.
Mm-hmm.
So it was arranged through Suge Knight's attorney, a guy named David Kenner, who was the death row attorney, arranged for people like this baby mama to come into the jail as a part of Suge's legal team,
Mm-hmm.
which gives them privileged communication, which means that they have the ability to have conversations that can't be monitored by law enforcement. And so David Kinner, the attorney, did something that was very, very unethical. And he listed her as a legal aid so that she could come in to help with Suge Knight's appeals. And that allowed her and Suge to have conversations. So she says that, yeah, I went there under the guise of being a legal aid. Me and Suge talked. Suge said, I want fucking Biggie taken care of. He's very upset about what happened in Vegas and about losing Tupac and about, being shot at himself. And rumor was happening in Los Angeles at that time. There was rumor going around that Biggie had been in Las Vegas, that Biggie had hired the Crips, that Biggie had provided the gun to kill Tupac. So that was the rumor, which is why Suge Knight targeted Biggie.
Mm.
Because the rumor on the streets was that Biggie was the one that was behind Tupac's murder. None of that was true, but that's what the streets were reporting. And just goes to show that, and this is not unusual, bad information gets good people killed.
Indeed, indeed. Man, so okay, so sticking with the Biggie killing, um, David Mack, professionally, did you have any dealings with him?
Mm-mm. No, he was another LAPD officer, but I'd never met him. Never even had heard of him until his name got dragged into the Biggie murder. So I didn't know anything about David Mack
Oh,
until, of course.
so his name officially got dragged into it. What did they say about him?
Well, so there's this a jailhouse informant, a guy named Michael Robinson. After Biggie was killed, this jailhouse informant contacted detectives at the LAPD and says, "Hey, I know something about this murder, and if you come talk to me, I'm in the county jail. I'll tell you what I know." So the detectives go down there, a guy named Ted Ball from LAPD, and they interview Michael Robinson, and Mike's like, yeah, the shooter was this Southside Crip, and he drives away, and he gives all this information, and he's just full of shit. He's just making shit up. And he goes, yeah, the shooter's name was like Abraham or Ashmir or Kenny or Kiki or Amir. He's given all these different names, and they're like, do you know this guy? He's like, yeah, oh yeah, I've known him for like 10, 15 years. I've know him real well. I can tell you everything about him, but can't even tell us his name.
Mm-hmm.
So the detectives realize this guy's full of shit. Well, then, you know, later on that year, a guy named David Mack robs a bank, and David Mack gets caught for this bank robbery. He's an LAPD officer who robs this bank. So during the time that he's in jail, he gets visited by a guy named Amir Mohammed, whose real name is Harry Billups.
Mm-hmm.
So a particular detective named Russell Poole who's working on Biggie's case. He's like, man, that's coincidental. You've got this informant saying there's a guy named Amir, among many other names. But then we've got David Mack, a dirty cop who's kind of acting like a gangster, who has a friend who visits him in jail named Amir Mohammed. So he connects these two circumstantial dots and begins to develop this theory that David Mack was involved in Biggie's murder. He discards all of the information that exonerates Amir Mohammed. When they go to talk to Michael Robinson, who says he's known Amir Mohammed for 10 to 12 years, Michael Robinson can't even pick out this guy's photograph.
Mm.
So let me ask you, you've got a buddy you've known 10 to 12 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I come and show you pictures of that guy. Are you going to be able to pick him out?
Should be, yeah.
Should be, right?
Yeah.
And if you can't, then I need to start asking myself, man, is fame, does he really know this guy, or is he making this shit up?
Right.
Right.
Indeed.
So that's what the detectives did. They go, okay, well, we've got this guy, Amir Mohammed. He's a mortgage broker. He went to college with David Mack. He's a professional real estate agent, or he's a mortgage broker. And all of this other information that Michael Robinson says about him, that he's from Compton, that he's a member of the Crips, that he hangs out with and associates with these people, none of that is true. None of it's true.
Mm-hmm.
So they realize that this guy's just making shit up. And then ultimately, Michael Robinson comes forward and admits, yeah, I was making all this shit up. In fact, there was another informant that was in the same housing area as Michael Robinson in the county jail who was doing the same thing. He was on the side, contacting the LAPD, going, hey, man, I know who killed Biggie. It's this guy, and this guy. And then a third informant comes forward and tells the LAPD, hey, are you guys aware that Wayman Anderson who's telling you this, and Michael Robinson, you realize those guys are talking, right? That they're collaborating and trying to sell you guys all this bullshit. They're both in jail at the time of the murders, and they're both just trying to get themselves some type of some type of benefit by going to the LAPD and trying to, provide them information that they think will solve a murder. And it's just a bunch of fucking nonsense by typical jailhouse informants.
Indeed. Well,
so when you realize that the foundation of when you realize that the foundation of that whole theory implodes, that the foundation itself erodes, then everything that's built on that foundation necessarily collapses with it. And that's unavoidable. So when you realize Michael Robinson was lying, then everything that follows no longer has any relevance. You understand what I'm saying? So there's no Amir Muhammad. If there's no Amir Muhammad, there can't be a David Mack.
Indeed.
Because that's the only connecting tissue. That's the only connecting tissue.
Right. So what do you, ultimately, what
so
do you
when
think,
you've taken...
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Go ahead, finish.
Yeah, so that's it. It's so, but because of it's sensational and salacious and controversial, the public, and especially those people in the public that already look at law enforcement, with skepticism, they like that story. And they'll adopt that story as a true story because it already fits their preconceived biases. If they think cops are dirty, then when you hear a story about a dirty cop, like a bank robber, you're more inclined to believe that there's that he's done other bad stuff. But that's not the way that you conduct an investigation. That's not the way that you get to the truth. The only way to get to the truth is just to be honest about the facts and the evidence. And if something disproves your theory, then you have to look for a better theory.
Indeed. Now, okay, let me just ask you one last question before we have to wrap up here. What did you think of Mr. The detective you're just talking about? I'm sorry, Russell Poole.
Russell Poole?
Why do you think he was, kind of reaching for straws like on his investigative work?
Well, that's the thing is there was a lot going on in his personal life. There was a lot going on at work in his professional life. He didn't work on the case for that long. I mean, he's really only worked on Biggie's case for like 9 months. And then he got himself in some trouble at work. They reassigned him to another area, took him off Biggie's case, and he was getting disgruntled. And so when you get disgruntled and you begin to start to, react defensively, and in his case, accusatorily, he saw all of these circumstantial things. And for him, he was connecting circumstantial dots. He developed a theory and then only accepted information that supported that theory and rejected all of the information that refuted the theory. And so it's just it's confirmation bias. And as an investigator, that's you have to be very careful not to allow that to happen. You can't get yourself in a rabbit hole and then refuse to come out of it when you realize it's a dead end.
Sound advice from former retired LA detective Greg Kading. Mr. Kading, again, just like I told you when we talked on the phone the first time, I definitely appreciate you spending the time to talk with me. You did not have to do that. I didn't think I had the cachet, to even ask you to come on, and you did that, and I'm very grateful for it. I thank you for your time, and I just asked that if we, if I have some more questions for you some other day, would you be grateful enough to let me on again?
You can call me anytime. I'm an open book, and I think it's important to share information because if there's things like, you don't come from a law enforcement background. So if I can help you understand some of the practices from an inside perspective, then I think that sharing information is important because it'll help you to see things maybe differently.
Oh, indeed. There are some things that I started to think differently about the whole Biggie and Tupac saga. But yeah, Mr. Kading,
Yeah,
like I said,
if I need information, if I need information about sports betting, I need to come to you so you can share your knowledge.
Indeed, I'm an open book, like you say. Like you say. Again, thanks for talking with us, Detective Kading, and I'll be back in touch with you soon.
Absolutely.
Take care.
All right, partner. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
All right, pal.